Hi, welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I am so glad you're here. Today's date is Monday, February 17th, 2025. Here in the United States, today is President's Day, a federal holiday. And there's something else that may be happening on a federal level. As the audits of our elected officials and the departments that they work in are audited. There's one that's being talked about, and that is an audit of Fort Knox, where the gold bars, the actual physical gold that is backing the American dollar, is supposed to be stored securely. Now, Elon Musk is saying that it's time for an audit, that he would like to do a video tour and let people see what they discover as they go through a tour and audit of Fort Knox. Now, it's good to know that the last time a full audit of Fort Knox was done was in the 1950s. And in the 1970s, they did a partial audit. Why you would just do a partial audit, I have to wonder, don't you? Okay, so let's talk about the gold that should be in Fort Knox if everything is on the up and up. There should be a total of 36,236 gold bars. Each of those bars has 27.4 pounds of gold to them. I think if there's only 36,000 and change, they ought to get a team in there with scales and start measuring those suckers. You know, get some of those people that are used to working fast on the clock and which wouldn't be our former government officials, and get those weighed. Because if there is a discrepancy in the amount of weight of a gold bar, that would tell us if some had possibly been tampered with so that they were filled with lead, which is a similar but not identical weight, and then gold coated. So if they weigh 27.4 pounds, they pass, we count them. If they don't, we investigate. That's even if the numbers seem to line up. I think they ought to know, not only count them, but weigh them. And just, for the peace of mind of the average American who wants to know, where's the gold? Right now, interestingly enough, that audit isn't possible because Fort Knox is flooded with some of the recent flooding that happened in Kentucky, which was, as I understand, not quite seasonally expected, but did happen. Okay. And recently, as far as near as the 15th of this month, it was reported that Britain, for some reason, is sending America 8,000 gold bars. Now, that's a drop in the bucket. That's that is less than 25% of what should be in Fort Knox. So if they're sending us 8,000 gold bars, I'd like to first of all know why and thank them for it. But wouldn't that bring the total of bars that we would expect to see at Fort Knox from 36,236 to 44,236? Would seem to me that way. Now I'm going to take you to a compilation I've got over on the platform X. It's got two very recent articles. They're pretty mainstream about the proposed audit of and tour, video tour of Fort Knox. By the way, Elon, or the person playing the part of Elon, is saying, hey, let's do a video tour. And Rand Paul, one of my favorite people on the political scene, says he's all for it. He's willing to help. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, some of the opposition to this is, well, if there is a discrepancy, it's going to shake the financial markets. It's going to shake confidence in the US dollar. Well, shake away. If there's a discrepancy, we need to know about it. We need to fix it. We need to investigate it. And people need to be called to account for that. That's the Laura's View part of this segment, okay? So let me take you quick to that post, and I will have a link to it in the video description box if you'd like to look at those two articles in a little more detail. All right, here we go. Okay, I included a New York Post article. I included a Newsweek article. And then, for your edification, I included a 17 post that talks about the physical gold. And it was during a Q&A, question and answer session that was done online with the Q team back in 2018. And the question was, do we have the gold? And the answer was yes, gold shall destroy Fed. Sometimes this is misquoted as saying the Fed, and there may be a distinct difference to that. I'm not exactly sure what it would be, but let's notice, please, that it says gold shall destroy Fed. You know, if we're going to start destroying the Fed, let's do it with this audit, right? Now, one of the reasons I'm not too overly concerned about what's going on at Fort Knox, other than I want to ask the cards if, they're going to discover a discrepancy plus additional insights and information, is because of that 17 post. I believe that we are watching a movie, that we are seeing things seem to unfold now that have actually happened several years in the past. And alt media chatter has said for years that there was tons of gold bars that were removed from the Vatican tunnels when the cleanup of that system was done. That those tunnels went for hundreds of miles and they had millions and millions of bars of gold. And that gold is held separately from Fort Knox, and I believe in Fort Cheyenne Mountain. So I'm not worried about it. We know that the good guys have the gold. Let's see if the bad guys are going to get caught with their fingers in the cookie jar as far as the gold that should have been guarded and safe on behalf of the American people to back our US dollar at one point. Once we went off the gold standard, that changed, but we know the fiat dollar is dying a slow and painful death. So let's switch the camera. I'll let you work with me, watch me work with the cards, and we're going to just ask, first of all, will an audit and tour of tour of Fort Knox reveal a big discrepancy in the gold bars, the gold supply that's there, plus additional insights and information? Remember, like I said, each gold bar should weigh 27.4 pounds, and there should be a total of 36,236 of them. Like I said, you get a team in there, I think they could count them and weigh them in a day, personally, don't you? And I think they should. But let's ask about that discrepancy plus additional insights and information. Okay, I'm going to switch the camera. I'll see you shortly when we get that done and at the recap. So I'm not going to ask if there will be an audit and tour of Fort Knox. I'd like to go on the assumption that with the momentum happening with the various auditing that is happening in our official structures and organizations, that it will happen. So I'm going to go to the more relevant, in my opinion, question, and that is asking, will or would a tour and audit of Fort Knox reveal a discrepancy in the gold stores, plus additional insights and information? There is some alt media chatter, has been for years, that Fort Knox is empty, that the thievery and shenanigans were that deep that they emptied out, even they being the bad guys, the deep state, even emptied out our Fort Knox. We'll see what the universe wants us to know. Okay, we got the Knight of Cups. We have the Eight of Wands, Page of Cups, Two of Pentacles. Finally have some pentacles showing up. Gold is a tangible asset. If things are on the up and up, we should be seeing lots of pentacles show up. And we're seeing wands for actions and cups for emotions and a little bit of trickery. We've got the Two of Wands, the Devil. You don't need me to tell you what this is telling us, do you? And then the fifth major arcana, which is the Hierophant. So, okay, guys, here's what it's telling us. It looks like they're going to find a much reduced physical gold in place than there should be. Far less than the 36,236 gold bars that one would expect to be held at Fort Knox. And yeah, shenanigans are in play. Absolutely. Have been in play. Now, nice surprise, it's not going to be empty. And it should have more than the 8,000 gold bars that the UK is sending to us. And I want to know why. I mean, thank you. We'll take them, but why? Okay. Did we have them on, like an interlibrary loan type of situation to you guys? What's going on? Okay, I'm going to get a few more cards and we'll see what we get besides the shenanigans aspect of it. And yeah, it looks like former administrations were kind of responsible for uh, the gold going away or being reduced in supply. And that's why in over 75 years, there's been no audit, no complete audit of Fort Knox. And even in the 70s, which is now almost 50 years ago, it's hard to think of it as that way, but yeah, 50 years ago, it was only a partial one. We are way overdue for an audit. Okay, we have the Four of Swords, High Priestess, Judgment, and the Chariot. Things are moving. Okay. Now, this is telling me, first of all, again, that there's a little more information. I didn't phrase the question in a way that is going to allow the universe to give us a complete disclosure. And I really don't know what I could have said differently to get a different result. We're getting enough here. And it may be, too, that there is some information that's being withheld for operational safety. There's going to be it's Fort Knox is going to be in the news. There's going to be some reveals going on about that gold, absolutely going on about it. And again, it's going to be people are going to be held to account for past actions. Former administrations, some of these discrepancies are going to be tied directly back to individuals or administrations, and there's going to be some accounting. The Chariot card, Triumph card, says, no matter what ends up happening, what kind of loss of physical gold we're going to discover in the course of that video tour, audit, etc. We're going to be, it's a white hat win that we get that transparency out there and that disclosure out there, number one. And number two, since the Chariot often talks about a move, I think it's just letting us know that the relevant gold that's going to be financing our continuing structures here in the United States has been moved. Again, that's a nod, I think, to the Cheyenne Mountain Reserves, which are separate and apart from Fort Knox. So we're not going to have to worry about it. We can remain amused at any discovered discrepancies and follow those gold trails back so that there's some accounting for it. But yeah, they're going to try to do some bait and switches too. So again, my thought that they need a team in there weighing each of those bars, counting and weighing them, I think is very relevant and wouldn't take that long. It wouldn't take that much. You'd probably get volunteers. But if not, just get a good platoon in there of our more reliable and on the up and up men and women in uniform and task them with it. Okay, I think they probably happily do it, especially to prove a point and to get some clarity and transparency going on. So let's recap. Elon Musk, or the person playing the part of Elon Musk, has been talking about making a video tour of Fort Knox and there's been a call for an audit, which has not been done of the gold supply at Fort Knox since the 1950s. In the 1970s, a partial audit was done and nothing in the remaining intervening 50 years. So it's timely, I think, and needed. We asked the universe, if there is this tour and an audit of Fort Knox, would a discrepancy be discovered between what should be in there, which is 36,236 total bars of gold, or additional insights and information? Well, there is some alt media chatter that Fort Knox is empty. The universe was telling us that actually we're going to discover that about half of it is gone. And that's what we got here in the front and center. They are scrambling, trying to stall, delay, redirect, distract. So look for it's a potential for some false flappy things besides some manufactured weather intervening right now with some flooding going on in the Fort Knox area. They don't want that happening. And I think it's going to tie directly back to some previous administrations, not the 45th, not the 47th, but previous administrations for some of this shenanigans. It's going to come back to bite those people. They are going to be held to account for it. We are going to get some more news about it. So again, I kind of figured with the momentum we've got and people saying, supporting and wanting transparency, disclosures, audits, and relevant downsizing. It looked like it was going to happen. We got that here. And then just kind of a couple of nods towards the end of the read. This is less relevant near future information. First of all, there's some information that wasn't shared with me today, possibly just because of phrasing of my question. But there's more to the story, and what I'm hoping that the more to the story is, or what's not being discussed, is the fact that there has been a large amount of gold, as I mentioned during the video, that is not from Fort Knox, but from other sources when there was a consequencing for crimes against humanity and assets were seized that, again, was referenced in a 17 post that I showed you that said, yes, we have the gold. Gold shall destroy Fed. Not the Fed, Fed. So it could be federal dollar, the fiat dollar. It's got to go at some point. It does. It's not backed by assets, and that has to change. So, and we know it will. So we're just waiting for things to catch up. Now, for those of you like me that have been awake for a number of years, it can get a little hard to watch things unfold at this pace. But there is like a second wave of people waking up. I can see that in the comments with people asking, genuinely, sincerely asking questions that we've known answers to for years, including how to do some basic searching and find information for ourselves. They're just at the starting gate. So we I think need to extend a little grace for those that are waking up, that have been in survival mode or just in denial, or had to get the cognitive dissonance to a point where it was uncomfortable enough that they're looking beyond it. So whatever's causing this, for them, it's high time. It's beyond high time, but let's be a little merciful as they start doing this. And part of what's doing this are these audits, this push for transparency, this quest for answers. And some of the information is going to be difficult, as we knew in the waking up process. I know when I learned about how a certain party substance was manufactured, I had sleepless weeks. I had sleepless nights when I learned about red shoes. I mean, there's things that people are just going to start to wake up to and realize it wasn't just a theory. It truly is something we have to accept and say never again and fix. So, and we know the 17 team always told us it's not going to be the gold that unites us. It's going to be the little ones. Okay. They cross all party lines and are ultimately the most relevant aspect of all of this. So that's it for this video. I thank you so much for your time and your attention and your patience. And I appreciate each and every one of you. I thank you so much for being here. If you're willing to receive it, before I say goodbye, I wish you love, light, and I wish for you everything bright. Guys, even though we're uncovering some uncomfortable information, even though some people are facing it for the first time, and let's help them as they do, we are going from dark to light, and we are part of that process. Kudos to you. Bye.